Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the Spirit of Liberty broadcast. We appreciate you tuning in with us again and hope you get a blessing today as we talk about soul winning. And this, the theme of today's program is really just soul winning motivation. What we're wanting to do today is just talk about some of our experiences soul winning, just kind of tell some stories. And we're going to kind of do this to kick off something that I want to be a part of this program. And we're going to have a segment every week that we're going to call Yesterday's Glory Day. Instead of us talking about, stories from 20 or 30 years ago, we want to hear stories from the last week. If you're doing something for the Lord, you should have some kind of experience. You should have some kind of story that you can tell. And I know some of us are tired of listening to evangelists tell their same stories over and over again that keep getting improved. And it's because some of us have experiences regularly. And if you're out soul winning, you're going to have experiences like that. And so what we want you to do, though, is we would like to read your stories. And we'd like to tell your story. So if you would send us an email at spiritoflibertybaptist@gmail.com, not right now, but during the week, we'll look at those. And then we will tell some of those stories every week on our program. If the Lord is, whenever the Lord does something great, we want to hear about it. So make sure you do that and you let us know what's happening, and we'll make that a part of our story. So I appreciate guys joining me today. We have Brother Matt. This is his first time on the program. Brother Aaron and Brother Austin back with us. And so hope you get a blessing today. So how was your week, gentlemen?
It's good.
Great.
Brother Matt, how's it feel to be on the show for the first time?
It feels kind of weird, almost like there isn't a show at all.
You're not, yeah, it is
kind of hanging out.
Yeah,
another day at church.
Well, that one of the things I like about doing it this way is when I did it by myself before, especially when it wasn't even live. I mean, I don't know, it just was really weird, just talking to a computer, and it just kind of felt fake. At least this way, I feel like I'm having a real conversation with real people. And if I say something funny, hopefully you guys laugh a little bit. Or whenever I say stuff funny on there and I hear no laughter, it throws me off.
Yeah.
It really hurts my comedic timing.
Yeah.
So anyway, but before we get into our main subject, of course, we want to do our preaching clip of the week. And this is a big thing that's going to be a part of our show every week. We are going to feature a preaching clip from a different pastor. And the plan is, once you make preaching clip of the week, you're probably never going to do it again. We want to do different people all the time. And so we need your help out there. If you come across a good preaching clip, make sure you send it to us. And it doesn't have to be, but preferably one from that week. If it was something that was preached in the last week, we would like that. And we don't do background checks on these people, okay? And so let me just put out a disclaimer before we do this first preaching clip, all right? The pastor that is shown here does not necessarily endorse the Spirit of Liberty broadcast or Liberty Baptist Church or Tommy McMurtry, nor does Liberty Baptist Church, Tommy McMurtry, necessarily endorse this preacher. I just heard the clip and I thought, that's good preaching. So just keep that in mind. There are some preachers out there, their life's goal in preaching is probably going to be featured as a sermon clip of the week. It should be a highlight for them.
Yeah.
Some will probably be offended, and will probably want to make a big stink about how dare they put me on here, because preachers can be very political.
Mm-hmm.
And my goal is to find that guy whose clip I play and I say positive things about, to get freaked out and have to make sure everybody knows he's not my friend and doesn't like me. People like that, all right, they are so in politically, I don't trust them as far as I can throw them.
Those are the people that we can feature more than once.
Yeah. Yeah. So
if it knocked them down a peg on their
yes,
their preaching list.
Yes, because this is going to happen, folks. All right, this is going to happen eventually, and so hopefully he won't see this program here. But the preacher that throws a big hissy fit because I liked one of his sermon clips is a scared political hack in the IFB world. And those guys are out there. They are terrified. I have gotten rebuked for complimenting preachers before.
Yeah.
By them. It's like they couldn't handle that I liked something that they did. And so it's like they had to throw a big fit. They had to make sure I knew that they don't, appreciate, who I run with and some of the things that I preach. It's like, dude, I didn't ask you to, say you love all my friends. I just liked what you did. Can I? And you say nobody would do that. Yes, they will. Some preacher will eventually get mad that I featured him on here. And that's pathetic. And some people who are on my side will get mad at some of the preachers that get featured on here because they're political too. It's like, that guy, he's not one of us. But I don't care. If I like the preaching, we're gonna play it. So this one is one that we found on IFB Preacher Clips, and it's not coming up on the screen. Did that screen freeze up again?
No, you should just have to drag it up.
Okay. Oh yeah. Well, no, he's got it mirrored. That's all right. They'll be able to see it at home. So that's the important thing. But this preacher, I forgot his name. It's Pastor Mike Austin of Landis Baptist Church in Landis, North Carolina. And I want you to listen to this preacher clip. This is a great preaching clip. It was featured on IFB Preacher Clips. And then we're going to read the comments that people left in response. And it's hilarious because there was nothing, while this triggered IFB Preacher Clips in his audience, there was nothing, he said nothing wrong. Everything he said in this clip is right. And it just bothered him so much. And so wait till you hear what they criticized. So, all right, so let's go ahead and play Pastor Mike Austin from Landis.
But a person can start having their eyes back on the world and not living a separated lifestyle unto the Lord Jesus Christ. You say, preacher, is that a problem in our day? Well, let's go listen to your radio. You say, preacher, is that a problem in our day? Well, what are you watching? Oh, preacher, there's nothing wrong. I mean, that just every now and then they're taking the Lord's name in vain. I mean, it's nothing, just once in the movie. I mean, preacher, you don't really think there's something wrong with rap music. They're talking about fornication. They're talking about adultery. All those good things that every Christian should be involved with. All right? And so we've gotten infatuated with the world. And the church has gotten worldly. Can't tell them apart. I mean, they're so close together. But I want to tell you something. When a man starts drawing nigh unto God, come on over here, Sawyer. You know what happens? He naturally finds himself, as he draws nearer, 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 blessed Lord, to the cross where thou hast died. You know where he finds himself? Distant from the world. Now, friend of mine, friendship with the world is enmity with Almighty God. It is enmity with God. Now, you can't hang in the balance. Amen? There's a lot of people that separate from a lot of things, but they don't separate unto Christ, His Word, prayer, church attendance, all of those things that help us to grow in our faith. Thank you, gentlemen. You can sit down. But separation has a definite goal. Christ is the goal. Be ye holy, for I am what?
All right. Well, it looks like we had a little bit of technical difficulties there, but you were able to hear it. You just couldn't see it. But that was Pastor Mike Austin from Landis Baptist. So what did you guys think of that clip?
Pretty good. Yeah, he said a lot of good stuff in there. Focused a lot on the technical difficulties.
Yeah, we were in here trying to figure out what was going on, but at the same time, though, the thing that I think triggered everybody is that he was talking about, what kind of music are you listening to? Mm-hmm. See, the trendies, they think that music is, amoral, that there's nothing, when you start condemning anything, they get bent out of shape. When you start talking about sins hurting or affecting your walk with God, they get bent out of shape because, they're real big on, once we get saved, all anyone can see is Jesus and all that. But again, when it comes to the righteousness that gets us in heaven, yes, it's Jesus Christ. It's that imputed righteousness. But now that we're saved, and we're supposed to be walking with Christ, there's things we can do that grieves the Holy Spirit of God.
Yeah.
And so if we're participating in certain sins, then, you're going to have problems on this earth with God. But so the thing is, that clip was great. Yeah. I listened to it multiple times. There was nothing said in there that was wrong. The man had his facts right. So let's go ahead and read the responses to it. All right. So we've got Seth Burge. I don't think that church full of old ladies has a problem with rap music. Okay. Now notice in the crowd shot, and unfortunately y'all couldn't see it, but it looks like there's several white heads in there. And these young punks, these trendies, they're doing everything they can to run old people out of their church.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, if you have a church where without any old people, something's wrong with your church. If you're the right kind of church, you should have people of all demographics that are able to be there. But the truth is, when it comes to a lot of this stuff, they're trying to figure out ways to get the old people out of their church because they see them as holding them back and keeping them down. And, them old timers. And then somebody said on here too, wow, a lot of empty seats. Our Presbyterian Reformed Calvinistic church has a smaller proportion on the Lord's Day. Could we be more sinners saved from the world too? And, just pointing out the empty seats where it looks like it's a decent crowd there. I mean,
front row's empty.
Yeah, the front row's empty, but that's because it's a Baptist church.
Right. It's just the way it works.
Yeah. Front row's always empty at a Baptist church. So, and then he had some guys up there in the front. I think he was using them as an illustration. Somebody said, is that a security detail up front? Somebody put a gif of some old lady dancing. But then, and then somebody said, this is Gospel Gary. The folks down at the rest home, they came to visit today, huh? Looks like a breakout church growth spurt is happening there. Again, bringing up the old people. I mean, just messed up. And then somebody put on there, thou shalt not rap. Trying to make it like he's adding to the scriptures. Yeah. But folks, if you think rap is okay, I don't know what to say for you.
Well, the thing is, what's your limits then?
Right.
Because everyone's got a limit at some point. I mean, even the world, just take swimwear for an example. Even the world has a limit on how little clothing that you'll wear. So, I mean, even the world has limits on, hey, this music is actually pretty bad. Like rap music will put on like the explicit labels and that they're, this is just really, really bad music. So, honestly, if you're asking yourself, if you're a Christian and you're commenting stuff like that, what is your limit with music then? Because everybody's got some kind of limits. I mean, you can get irritated and say that maybe our standards are too strict, but you've got to admit you at least have some kind of limit. And if you don't, I mean, there's something wrong with you.
And for the most part, it's just going to be whatever music they don't like. For the person who grew up with the pop and rap culture, they're going to hear like heavy metal screaming and stuff. They'll be like, no, that's of the devil, that's wicked. But then other people looking back the other way, like, look at what all those rap people are talking about and the stuff they rap about, what they're saying, and they're thinking the same thing. And everybody's drawing the limits to where they think, well, that's obviously the bad stuff. That's the bad side.
Yeah. But that clip though, it reminds me of what IFB Preacher Clips is all about. They do most of the time just put the clip out of what the preacher said, but then they depend on their nut job followers to do all the bashing.
Their commenters are a special group of people.
Right. So then it's easy to make, some of these preachers look bad who, hate on IFB Preacher Clips, and then they could just be like, all we do is put the clips out. But and
then fan the flames.
Yeah, you're inciting the mob. Okay. And again, anybody who incites mobs tries to deny that there is a mob. Yeah. But you know what? There's a Twitter mob too. There's Twitter lynch mobs, there's YouTube lynch mobs, Facebook lynch mobs. It's the way it is. And so you have people out there that know how to push the buttons.
Yeah.
To get everybody attacking.
Just like Aaron. Oh, I threw all the golden earrings in the cat. Yeah. In a fire in a calf pot.
So anyway, but congratulations to Pastor Mike Austin for making preaching clip of the week. So
that was good preaching.
This was this was a great moment in his life. I don't know if he'll ever even know he had this moment. But anyway, I like that sermon clip. I've seen some other ones. They featured him several times. He got mad because he preached against Phil Kidd, for going trendy or hanging with the trendies. I don't remember what all it said, but they got real bent out of shape out of that. It's funny how Phil Kidd's now, these guys all love him on the trendy side, and they still hate his preaching, but because he takes swings at the IFB, they love him. Even though he's still a lot different than they are.
We're kind of a weird case for them because we take some swings at the IFB too, but then we also take a lot of swings at them.
Yeah, exactly. And if we take a swing at the IFB, we feel bad. Yeah, it's out of love, and we feel bad doing it. Yeah. Where when we do it at them, we enjoy it.
Yeah.
So anyway, but we better get to our main subject today. So soul winning motivation, trying to motivate people to go soul winning. And one thing that I think, helps kind of create a soul winning culture in your church is when that's the subject matter. Some people, when they get into church, they get really into sports because that's what everybody talks about. They go to church because they're anxious to talk to their buddies about their fantasy football league they got going on. And you'd be surprised how much fantasy football is a part of, a main conversation piece in a lot of churches, or maybe the politics and things like that. But, what people are talking about in the church is going to determine where a lot of the interest and a lot of the focus is. And so we wanted to talk about soul winning today and just experiences. Because, the Apostle Paul in 2 Corinthians, he tells that story about all the things he went through, about, getting stoned, getting shipwrecked. Just all these things that he went through. And, we read a lot of those stories in the Bible, and those are very interesting stories. And, they motivate us. We don't get scared when we read those stories. We actually get motivated. Mm-hmm. And so I like hearing people's stories. So I don't know if you guys thought about any, but, if you had any, experiences you'd like to talk about, things that you've, been through, dealt with. For example, a lot of people don't want to go soul winning because they're just scared. Okay. Mm-hmm. But at the same, they're thinking what could happen. But let's talk about some of our worst experiences out souling, because it's probably not as bad as most people think, but at the same time, it's not necessarily it's not all sunshine and roses out there. So anybody have a bad experience?
I have an experience.
Okay.
So going soul winning in Chicago, it was a really fun day. We're actually scouting out a trip, and see, everyone knows about it. Chicago. Everyone hates Chicago, but we were scouting out a trip for a potentially bigger trip that actually got canceled because of, this was right when coronavirus started. Well, me and my friend Brad were soul winning, and we were standing at a really busy intersection, and this kid walked by, and Brad literally gave this kid Acts 16:31, basically just a one verse gospel, just so he could hear it, and then he moves on. Well, then 5 minutes later, this kid's dad just runs up to us, starts cussing us out because we talked to his kid in the middle of a busy intersection when he let his kid walk alone in Chicago by himself. But anyways, so we're just basically okay, sorry we talked to your kid, and we moved on. Then we go down the street and we start talking to these two, probably between 14 and 15-year-old teenagers. And I'm giving one the gospel, and he's giving the other the gospel. And then this woman comes like a Fast and Furious movie. Someone's driving down the road. She hops out of the car and just starts screaming at us, saying that we're pedophiles, that we're horrible people. Just because we're in a neighborhood in Chicago, because we're white and they're black, and giving them the gospel. And this was before the whole George Floyd thing. This is just a culture deep rooted in there. This isn't something new. But anyways, it was just crazy. So those kids, they got freaked out and they just ran away. So then we go again and we start talking to this other guy who is in his 20s. She does the same thing again. Fast and Furious movie, jumps out, just starts going around us. So she's chasing us down the alley. And, I was worried for a second that someone might pull a gun out because we were in a bad area. But we ended up, somehow navigating our way through. We got back to our car. We drove off, and we went back to the restaurant that we ate at. Well, in the meantime, there were 2 other groups out soul winning. They got 9 people saved while we were there. And then we actually, when we went back to the restaurant, saw a woman, and we got her saved while she was there. So it worked out good in the end. And, we got back home, and I got my face on Facebook going through the Chicago neighborhoods that I was there for human trafficking, handing out my church information with my pastor's name on it. So I wasn't very smart of a human trafficker. But, at the end of the day, it wasn't really that bad. It was a fun experience. And in the meantime, I was furious while I was there. And I was so irritated. And, I was really hoping we could go back there, but coronavirus kind of delayed it. But we've been back to Chicago a couple times. We're going to go back in November, I think, this year. So it's really exciting. It's a lot of fun. But look, if you get your face put on Facebook by a bunch of people that hate you anyways and claim that you're some kind of human trafficker handing out church information, real people don't believe that stuff. It's not really that bad. And at the end of the day, it's fun to be able to say that I dealt with a psycho woman in Chicago. And, in the meantime, 10 people got saved that day. So, it was a great day, and I'm glad to do it, and I'd do it all again.
Right. And most of those people, too, that were negative online were just like followers of IFB preacher clips. Mm-hmm. They hated Christians. They hated and so they were just saying terrible stuff just to say it.
Yeah.
And it would so nothing you can do to please those people. That was a pretty crazy one. We got a lot of major backlash on Facebook after that one, but oh well.
That was the nail in the coffin for the church Facebook page.
Yeah, we had to. Our Facebook blew up so bad on that one. I just had to shut that page down because it was just it was so full of hate from the homos already, and then that was just like, forget this. It's too hard to monitor all that stuff. There was so much. I like put it unlisted. But how about you, Brother Matt? You had any bad experiences?
Not other than just getting yelled at and I don't want to hear it or keep on moving. Nothing dramatic like Brother Austin had.
That there is what a lot of people are scared of.
Well, those are those are the worst ones. I was kind of thinking about my Chicago thing, and I was wondering because you said the thing we were going to tell stories, and I was wondering if I was even going to tell that one or not. Because to be honest, I would rather do that than go an entire day and just knock a bunch of doors and nobody answers, or everyone that answers is like rude to me. I'd rather do something like that.
I'd rather have uneventful.
Where 10 people get saved,
yeah,
and like other people are doing great things for God in the meantime, and you can go and meet someone at a restaurant, and it's a really cool story. Then just like knock a bunch of doors, like no one answered. They were all watching football or something. Right. That's the worst experience in my opinion.
But wait, so the thing is, when you get yelled at, all right, like I said, people think that would finish me right there. But how do you feel? Because that's what everybody's thinking, it would just make me feel so bad. But, what does it do to you when somebody just yells you, tells you to get out there, land or whatever?
It literally doesn't affect me at all. I know most people aren't going to listen. Even fewer people are going to get saved. So if there are a lot of people that are angry because somebody's coming to their door, and I don't look like a Mormon. I don't look like a Jehovah's Witness. Mm-hmm. I do have my backpack, so maybe they think I'm selling something. But if they're that angry, they weren't going to listen anyway. So it's actually easier to have them yell at me and say, "Get out of here! I don't want to listen." No, that I didn't waste any time, and I go to the next door and hope that those people are going to answer and listen instead of.
Right, because here's what people need to understand. If you show up at somebody's house and they yell at you and are rude, it's not personal. Mm-hmm. They obviously already have issues with, soul winners and everything, and they don't know who you are, and they won't remember who you are. And so you didn't make them mad. They already were just angry for whatever reason, and you just end up being there and being the one that gets to take it. But you can't take it personal. Mm-hmm. So how about you, Aaron? You have any bad stories?
Two that I got at the back of my head. One just kind of similar to what Austin, not nearly to the skill that he had, but just having somebody come up, somebody that it was me and Aaron. I can't remember what town, but it was a few weeks ago, small town. It was me and Aaron together, and there was this guy that had been talking with some people at the fire station, watching us, walking down the street, door knocking. And then later comes up. We're heading back towards the van, get ready to go home, and he comes driving down the street, sees Aaron talking to two 13, 14-year-old girls riding bikes on the street. And the guy just drives up and starts, hey, you have no right to be talking to these girls and just accusing us of being pedophiles. And you have no right in today's world. And so I've got something similar to that extent. But the one that is knocking at the back of my head is some dude just freaking out on me. Knock the door. Guy answers, hey, just hand out church advice. You go to church anywhere? I was like, no. Or, well, I'm just more important than church. You sure you're going to go to heaven? And he just says, no, not interested, don't want to talk about it. All right, well, hey, can I leave you with this verse real quick just to kind of sum everything up? And he's like, sure. So I get halfway through, go to usually go to Ephesians 2:8. I can't remember what I went to, but I get through half of it. He interrupts me and just starts going off on me. This guy's all smiles at the door, and he's just polite. He's like, no, and then sure, okay, I'll hear it. And then I get halfway through this and saying, see, so instead of it's saying this is works as opposed to faith right here. He just starts going off on me, and he's like, I know other people in other religions, and like this guy just turned into a total nut job in a blink of an eye.
Yeah. I had that exact same thing happen one time. We were over in Streeter, and this guy, hey, we're from Liberty Baptist Church, and everything, and he's being real nice, receptive, hey, can I tell you how you know for sure you're going to heaven? He's like, yeah, sure. And so we're going through, and he kept asking these questions, and I was like answering them, and he seemed real receptive. I was like, man, this guy's going to get saved. But then finally, I forgot what I said exactly, but I realized after the conversation turned, all these questions he was asking me, the only reason he was letting me talk, he was setting me up because he was going to stump me, and then he was going to let me have it, basically. But the problem is, I answered one of the questions that I don't think I was supposed to be able to answer, too good for him. And then all of a sudden he just like lost it. Everything was fine. I thought this guy's probably going to get saved. And then he was just like, and right there, after I said something about, us about being sinners and everything, y'all are so negative. And he just like flips on me and then like throws the stuff back at me and tells me to get out of there. And I was just like, okay. I mean, it was like so nice and receptive, and he did, man. He just turned. It was crazy. But just real quickly, we don't have a whole lot of time left, but what are some of your like least favorite things soul winning? So for me, I think it was last week when we went out, dogs. Every house, just dogs. I hate dogs. Yeah. They do more to just quench the spirit and make it difficult. You go knock on somebody's door and 14 dogs start barking. Mm-hmm. The people are angry now. Mm-hmm.
And not just them, but their neighbors too.
Right.
And it's just like a 5-minute before you get there announcement, hey, there's a Baptist coming to your house or something. It's frustrating.
I'd rather a day of no answers than dogs at even just 3-4 of the doors. Every time you knock, all the dogs start barking, and if they come to the door, you're just already in a situation where this person, they're reaching down to hold back their 20-foot tall dog and just like trying to enter the door. They got the look of discomfort on their face saying, can I help you? And you're just, here's a church invite, man.
Yeah, it's so awkward. I learned a thing though too, because I don't want to look like I'm holding their door shut and everything in case they come when I'll get there, but I always put my foot. Yeah, I was just kind of putting my foot there at the bottom of the door to hold
just
there.
In case the dog.
Yeah, that's a good tip. I never thought of that.
Yeah, because I'm always afraid the dog's going to make it through there, and I've seen some that look like they wanted to eat.
Oh yeah.
Most I think are just excited, but yeah, that right there, that drives me crazy. And if you go soloing, you're gonna have some bad experiences. Mm-hmm. But you just got to learn to get over yourself. You just gotta be humble. And understand. Just don't take things personal. But you're gonna have a lot of great experiences too, and that's what keeps you motivated. And if that's why I think it's good to talk about stuff like this and share your stories. If you're out there this week and you have a good experience, talk about. We've been talking about bad experiences. I was wanting to talk about good experiences too, but we're like already out of time. So this probably wasn't soul winning motivation. This was probably more soul winning discouragement. But it's okay to tell the bad stories too, because in the Bible, there's a lot of bad stories in there where they're getting killed and thrown in jail and beaten. So we're allowed to tell these stories, and if you're the type that's motivated by that type of thing, then I guess it was motivation for you.
Yeah.
But
a little bit of a tag ending to that. I mean, the bad stories can be more motivation to go out and do it. I mean, the fact that we can go out and we just live in such a wicked world where people hate you just for giving the gospel in the first place should be some motivation for you to go out and get other people saved. And I mean, if you need any more motivation than the fact that if we don't do this, people will literally go to hell and die. I mean, I don't know what it is. I mean, when people are criticizing soul winning, it blows my mind. I mean, to see people just aggravated about soul winning, to see people that get irritated when you go knock on someone's door and try to get them saved. And don't act like we're doing 1, 2, 3 repeat after me or anything. We don't do that. We give people real legitimate gospel presentations that can get them saved. And that's what life's all about. I have things that I enjoy in this life. Like I do like sports and probably more than the average person does. But the thing is, that stuff's not fulfilling. I can go and I can get entertained about things. I can, enjoy things. But the only fulfillment that you're really going to have in life comes from the Bible. It comes from ministering to other people and knowing that you've had a good influence on others. The most depressed people in this world are people that are selfish, or people that are self-centered, that are only thinking about themselves. When you stop focusing on yourself and you start focusing on others, which how much more could you focus on other people than giving them the gospel? I mean, you're going to be a depressed person.
Right. Yeah. And, back to the 1, 2, 3 repeat after me. I'm going to say this too, especially for our good friend, the Pharisee, Jeff Dollar. Okay. Listen, Jeff Dollar, the Pharisee. Everybody went to college and went souling with the 1, 2, 3 repeat after me guy. Okay. And even Jeff Dollar talks about how he used to force people into prayers and things like that. You know what? That was wicked.
Yeah.
That was super wicked. Did you believe you were getting him saved when you were, manipulating him like that? Who does that? What kind of person goes out and cons some guy into saying a prayer and then goes back home and reports that they got him saved?
It's people that want the glory of others.
Exactly. Okay. I want to hear you say when you participated in that, you were super wicked.
Yeah.
Okay. And when did you get over that wickedness? When did you repent of that sin of just being lying, two-faced, manipulative, and just trying to con people into saying a prayer so you could just go get a little bit of glory? Okay. That is super wicked. And just because you did that, just because you were that wicked, doesn't mean everybody who goes soul winning is as wicked as you were. Okay?
And he went to Hyles Anderson, right?
Yeah.
So how do you go to Hyles Anderson and you have a bad experience of 1, 2, 3 repeat
I'm
after
sure
me?
he had more than one.
But like one of the things I love about this church is going out with everybody. Going out here, if we don't get to talk to somebody, I get to talk to them. But I get to hear other people's gospel presentations. They get to ask me questions about mine. Right. That's one of the great things about having a bunch of soul winners. So if you go to that college and it's all about soul winning, how are you not getting the wide range of presentations to realize that it wasn't all just 1, 2, 3 repeat after me, that you had a bad experience and then you wrote the whole thing off because
Well, here's the thing: when you're a Pharisee, like the Pharisee Jeff Dollar, you judge people as you are in your own heart.
Yeah.
And so because that's who he is in his heart, that's what he assumes everybody else is. Okay. And then what he does, his response is always, act super nice and humble and, talk about how we just don't know doctrine. We haven't read enough John Calvin and, the canons of Dort and all that kind of stuff. And he's smarter than the rest of us. But at the same time, listen, you filthy Pharisee, you are inaccurately, with zero experience, judging all of us and what we do. He's never gone soul winning with any of us.
Right. Well, I've seen people do 1, 2, 3 repeat after me, and I remember just being disgusted and thinking that it's wicked. Because I think 1, 2, 3, repeat after me is just as wicked as telling someone they have to work their way into heaven.
Right.
I mean, you're not going to get someone saved by just going up and forcing them into some prayer. That's a horrible thing to do.
Right. And I've seen that too with people in other churches that I don't go to church with. And anybody that's ever come through here that I felt like was doing that at all, I talked to them about it. We work on that because those people are out there. Okay. The Pharisees, Jeff Dollars, are out there. The people that do things for a show and that are manipulative, they're out there. But not everybody's like that. And some places we call that out. And so, just understand when you hear Pharisees like Jeff Dollar talking like he does, he's judging us as he is in his own heart. He's never been to our church.
Exactly.
He's never been soul winning with me. But yet he knows all this stuff about what we do. You know why? Because he went to Hiles Anderson, and he just assumes we're all, Hiles knockoffs. And, he, obviously, if he's that wicked or was that wicked, we must be now too. And so, don't, and man, I hate to say this too, but a lot of people that listen to this, they go to churches that have Pharisees as pastors, and they're kind of do the same thing. They all got their 1, 2, 3, repeat after me story that they can tell about somebody, and they use it as an excuse to not go souling themselves.
Yeah, it's garbage.
And that's pathetic. How about you just go out there and be thorough? Yeah, you're not going to get 14 people saved every time you go out. You're not going to be like that one guy. I remember they got like 14 people saved in like at less than an hour.
Literally watched this kid get someone saved in 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Ran up to him like a heat-seeking missile on the street and had his head bowed in 30 seconds and came back to let everybody know he got saved. That is wicked garbage.
Yeah. No, that ain't right. And yeah, it does happen.
Yeah.
It does happen, but it's not everywhere. There's perverts out there, but it doesn't mean everybody's a pervert. Anybody who accuses everybody of being a pervert too, I usually suspect of being a pervert.
It's weird when that stuff's on your mind all the time.
I know.
Like just the immediate thing that you think someone's doing, you're a pedophile.
Yeah, and
why are you even thinking about pedophiles?
Right.
All the time?
Yeah, and you know what's on the Pharisee Jeff Dollar's mind all the time?
1, 2, 3, repeat.
Two-faced, hypocrisy, just manipulative, all the things that he admits that he was at one time, apparently.
Yeah.
But he has repented of that sin, yet he still judges everybody that same way. Okay, he might have changed his actions, but his heart has not been changed.
Yeah.
So anyway, well, we'll close with that, and we will look forward to the next 14 video series from the Pharisee Jeff Dollar. Fixing me on my soul winning, where he will continue to tell stories about people that are not me and experiences that were not with me or not with anyone from our church. He will find a video of somebody, associated with the new IFB, judge everything from that, and instead of actually, getting to the source of things, because that's how Pharisees work.
Yeah.
But we'll look forward to that. And anyway, I hope you got a blessing. Send us your preaching clips that you find and soul winning stories, Spirit of Liberty Baptist @gmail.com, and we will make those a part of the program. Next week, we are going to have some very special guests with us. Next week is probably going to be a pre-recorded one, but it will premiere live at 9 a.m., and we are going to have a very special group of people in here that will give you a show that you will enjoy greatly.
I mean, I thought we're a pretty special group. But it's okay.
We're pretty special, but
sure they'll be more special.
There are those better than us. Yeah. So we are not the most special people in the world. So we will let you wonder what that's going to be until next week. So God bless you. We will see you all next week.